Hi, everyone. It's me again, Yvonne Emil Elizondo, and happy fabulous Friday. Woo! So usually I am really busy on Fridays, and today I thought I was going to be super busy as well. And then some of my clients decided that they wanted the day off. And so I found myself with a few hours of downtime. Now, usually as a Taurus rising, I'm like, yes, I got some downtime. I'm going to go read a book, listen to my music, or meditate. But today I was like, you know what? I think I need to do something productive with this. And I attribute that to Mars and Mercury in Virgo. So Mars, planet of action, doing, motivation, and Mercury, the planet of the mind, right? And Virgo, detailed Virgo, got to do something. Okay. I feel like I have to do something with my time. So here I am. Okay, so I am going to teach you today how to make your very own blessing oil. Yep, blessing oil. So what's blessing oil? Ta-da! It is oil that has been blessed with you, with your intention. It's been blessed with your intention. That's all a blessing oil is. It's an oil and herbs and other really cool stuff that is imbued with your intention for a specific purpose. It could be protection, it could be love, it could be peace, it could be harmony, it could be finance, it could be career, it could be success, it could be all of the above, okay? It could be anything that you want it to be. This particular blessing oil is for harmony and protection, right? So I want to protect myself, I want to protect my surroundings, I want to protect my things, but I also want to have the feeling of peace and harmony, you know, along with the protection. So this is my blessing oil. Okay, now, how do you go about making a blessing oil? Very, very simple, and it's actually quite fun. So the first thing that you want to do is get yourself a glass jar or a glass container. And I mean, what witch doesn't like glass jars or containers? Like, I don't know of one that does not collect jars and containers. Anyways, I never use plastic in any of my rituals or my workings, my magical workings, my rituals. Plastic has different properties in it. I mean, it's not even biodegradable, right? And so, yeah, I know you could say about glass kind of, but there's just something about plastic that just doesn't work for me. Anyhow, so I always encourage the use of glass containers, glass jars. So that's the first thing you're going to want to do. The second thing that you're going to need for your blessing oil is oil. Okay, now it doesn't really matter what kind of oil you choose. I prefer to use olive oil, jojoba oil, or coconut oil most of the time. And this is what we refer to as a carrier oil, right? Because the oil is going to carry all of the other substances. So there are a variety of, you know, really expensive oils out there, carrier oils, or you could just go with the old, hey, let's go to, you know, the local grocery store and buy myself some olive oil. Okay, so it doesn't really matter as far as the oil goes. But what I do want to caution you about oil, and those of you that have used oil before in non-witchy, you know, activities like cooking, you will quickly find out that oil can stain fabrics. So I do want to tell you right off the bat that if you're going to use a blessing oil on a fabric, you better make sure that A, you know that fabric is going to get stained, or B, you're okay with it being stained and try to wash it out. Okay, so the oil doesn't matter. Now, the other thing I'm going to caution you about is that we do, I'm apply it on the body. So please make sure that you are not allergic to any of these, you know, the oils or any of the herbs, okay, or even the essential oils that you're going to be using, because I would prefer that you didn't come back to me and say, hey, you didn't tell me that if I put this on my favorite shirt, it wasn't going to come out. I'm telling you right now. Okay, so that's the second thing. You want a carrier oil. Now, I'm not picky because I'm not a Virgo. Oh man, I'm picking on Virgos today. I am not really about the details, obviously. So I kind of just go with the feel of how much oil I should use and how many herbs or sprints, you know, little pinches of herbs I should use, or salt or whatever. So I'm not necessarily picky when it comes to blessing oil. There are some traditions and some beliefs that you have to be absolutely precise with your measurements, and that if that's the way that you function and you tune into that, by all means, work with the different, types of ingredients and the amounts and whatever works for you. But for me, the blessing oil, neither here nor there. Now, there are some rituals that I am more particular about, especially as far as the amounts of, stuff that I use, but not for the blessing oil. Okay, so blessing oil. Again, we are setting the intention into the oil. Whatever intention that is, it's going to be up to you. All right. The next thing you need, so jar, oil, the next thing you're going to need are the actual essential oils, okay? Now, I do want to caution you about how many essential oils you add to your oil mix, because the oil, again, the carrier oil is going to hold on to this. Okay, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to hold on to the essential oil. And if you're very okay with a lot of fragrance, a mix of fragrances, great. If you're not, well, then you may just want to choose one or two. I usually just choose one or two essential oils only because of the properties, right, that I'm imbuing into the oil. So in other words, this is peppermint, right? So peppermint is amazing. It's just my senses wake up. Okay, I use this every morning actually. I'm trying to wake up because again, I'm Taurus rising and it takes me forever to wake up. So part of my ritual is like sniffing the oil. Woo, there we go. Okay, so peppermint for me represents not only awakening of the senses, but it also represents becoming self-aware, right? So in any of my oils, or anytime I'm doing any ritual work, I really want to be self-aware. I want to know what I'm tapping into. So I either sniff it, right? But if I'm going to include it into my essential oil, it's going to be for protection, right? So peppermint is also for protection, but I'm including it in there so that every time I put this oil on, I am going to become self-aware that I need to be protected, right? I need to make good choices. I need to connect with the right essence, the right energy, but I also want to bring harmony and peace. So this is why I use peppermint in this particular essential oil. Okay, the other oil that is in this blessing oil is sage. Sage is for cleansing. Gotta get rid of it, okay? And for grounding. So sage and peppermint oil are the two essential oils that I use in here. Now, as far as how many drops we should put in there, again, I'm not necessarily picky. I know that if I put 5 or more drops of any oil, it's going to be too much for me. Okay, so I usually would encourage you to start with like 2 or 3 drops of oil and then just see how that resonates with you or smells. Okay, if you want to add a little bit more, then you add a little bit more. I used 5 peppermint. No, that's not true. I used 7 drops of peppermint and 8 drops of sage. Right, I really want a good concentration of this energy in my oil. All right, so essential oil. So far, so good. Jar, carrier oil, essential oil. Here we go. All right, then the next thing I do is I choose my herbs, okay, and my salts, depending on, again, on the intention that I want to set into the oil. The very first herb that I reached for, because I did want this to be a peaceful oil, is jasmine, right? And so there we go. There's jasmine. Okay. And all I did was grab a few. Again, I don't have any inkling about the measurements of how much things should be, put into for this particular oil. So I just grabbed 3 of them and I just kind of crushed them up a little bit and put them in there. So jasmine was the first one. The second one that I put in there was rosemary, right? So rosemary is a protective herb, but it's also a healing herb. So whenever I use this oil, I want to be protected, right? But I also want healing to happen if there is any negative intention coming my way, or if I'm dealing with negativity or anything of that nature. That is why they say that witches always have, okay, rosemary by their front door, because it's a protective herb. All right, and I did 3 pinches of this as well. And then, because I always like to include salts in most of my rituals, salt is grounding, right? And so I always encourage, hey, if you're going to do any ritual, if you're going to do a smudge spray or an oil, or anything of that nature, make sure it's grounding, make sure it's going to be, you know, anchored. Okay. And so for this oil, I used Himalayan salt, right? Himalayan salt is much like sea salt or any other type of salt because it is a grounding factor. Okay. There's a protective factor to it too. But I think because it's pink, it also helps me feel calm and peaceful. And that's the purpose of, or one of the purposes of this oil. And then I use Vervain. Now, Vervain, okay, any of you have seen Vampire Diaries, right? You know that the really cute, hot vampires in this show, if they swallow Vervain, it starts to burn them. And so Vervain in the old days was considered an evil warding type of herb, and it still is. Okay, so this is a very protective herb. Some people use it for healing, which you can. I usually use it for protection, especially against evil forces, you know, that may be out there in the universe that I really don't want to tap into. So Vervain. And then I use crystal. Now, crystal quartz, okay, is a huge amplifier, right? I mean, just think about it. Most of our technology has some sort of crystal quartz in it. Yeah. Okay, because it's a transfer of energy and it's a huge amplifier. Okay, and so I use crystal quartz in the carrier oil. Obviously, this one's not going to go into that bottle, but what I did was I found myself a really cute little witchy shop that has the, you know, separate like crystals. I don't know if you can see that. Let me pull one out real quick. So it has several of the crystals. And then what I do is I put these into my smudge sprays or into my, you know, carrier oils. So see, they're relatively small. So you can do this. You can find yourself, I think they sell them on Amazon too, right? Or you can go to the local crystal shop and, you know, make your purchase there. But all right, so that is, again, when I put that into my carrier oil, my jar, the intention is that I'm amplifying the intention of the oil, which in this case is protective and peace. But what I also do with the crystal, okay, is that as I'm doing my ritual, right, as I'm sitting there and I'm picking my herbs out and I'm focusing on the intention energetically, and as I'm focusing the intention, I'm putting the herbs into the carrier oil, this baby right here, which is my amplifier, sits right next to my crystal. I mean, my jar, excuse me, my jar, because this is in amplifying my intention for this blessing oil to be amazing. So that's what I do with that. Now, if you find that you need a blessing oil, okay, or protection oil for protection because you're experiencing a lot of negative stuff, right, then you can use a piece of obsidian or tourmaline, okay, or onyx. Jet also works, but I usually work with obsidian and jet mostly, but this is a piece of obsidian. Look at this beautiful piece of obsidian. It's just gorgeous, right? So I do the same thing. I set it on the side, do my ritual work, set the intentions, and yeah. So the one thing I do want to caution about using crystals in the oil is that not all crystals are okay in oil. They will disintegrate much more quickly. Their composition will loosey-goosey. And so you do want to be cautious of that. Crystal quartz tends to be pretty okay with a lot of the carrier oils and, you know, anything of that nature. Selenite is not one that I would stick into a carrier oil, like period. Okay. So you do want to do some research on the crystal that you're going to use as far as, you know, sticking it into your oil. And that's it. Okay, so what are some ways that I could use this blessing oil, right? Well, I could just, it smells so pretty. I gotta say, I did a really good job on this one. Anyways, so all I do is I dab some, okay, and I don't want to dab a whole bunch because I don't want my hands to get too, you know, too oily, which is something that will happen if you're going to use oil, right? So be aware of that as well. And all I do is I grab some. I prefer to put it on my wrists, okay, so I'm protected. So, or on my palms. So anytime I do any sort of healing work or energy work, I put this. You know, whether I'm doing energy work for myself or doing energy work for somebody else, it's on my palms. Energy comes out of my palms, energy goes into my palms. And so I want that protection and I want that peace, that harmony, you know, that self-awareness. And, or Okay, I used to put it on my sweet greyhound, Sandy the greyhound. She absolutely loved it when I would put it on the tip of her nose, right? Again, just make sure that you are not allergic or that your pet is not allergic. I also put it in my vehicles, right? And so here's where you do want to be careful, because you don't want to take like a big of oil, because sometimes that oil doesn't come out of things, right? So you want to dab test a little bit at a time. Okay, if you cannot put it directly like on your dashboard, right, because then you're going to end up with this huge, you know, symbol on your dashboard, then I put it on paper, right? I put the oil on a piece of paper, and then I put the paper in my car. Ta-da! You could use sigils, you could use runes, you could use your own made up, you know, type of symbol. You could write your name, you could do the sign of the cross, whatever it is that you feel most comfortable with, the star, okay, a pentagram, whatever it is that you feel more comfortable with, that's a symbol that you want to use when you're, you know, using the blessing oil. Or if you don't want to use that, all you do is dab, and you're good to go. And that's it. Super fun, super easy, protective oil, okay, blessing oil. You could use it to bless people too. Like, I love giving this as a gift, because and I haven't done that in a while. So, hey, all of you friends out there, guess what you're getting? Guess what you're getting for Christmas? Maybe. Anyways, I love giving this as a gift, because I mean, who doesn't want a blessing? Like, or maybe there's people out there that don't want blessings, right? I don't know if I want to be friends with those people, but anyways, here it is, your blessing oil. All right, everyone, if you want to learn more about how to make potions and concoctions and, you know, fun stuff like this, reach out to me. I'm at spiritualessence.com. That's spiritual-essence.com. And if you've made a blessing oil, or if you make a blessing oil, just, you know, share it with me. See how it turns out. I'd love to hear from you. All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend and stay safe. Blessed be.